Jackets are in this season, plaids in this season, jacket plaid. Oh, it's what my dreams are made of. So if any of you guys have seen my sewing autumn winter makes video, you would know that I am planning on making, well, I'm going to make this video, the men's Fairfield shirt by Thread Theory, but I'm making it into like a boyfriend jacket type thing for myself. So I've never made this pattern before, and it's got a few things that I've never done in it before. So it has this crazy placket for the cuff that I've got to figure out, and I don't think I've ever failed a seam either. So I'm gonna actually make a mock-up of this pattern for two reasons. One, because it was drafted for a man's body, not mine, and two, because it has all these details that I'm going to have to learn and practice, and I don't want to mess up my fabric. So that's what we're going to do. On top of that, I have 2 days to do the mock-up and make the shirt, because we are stripping the living room soon where I currently sew, and it's at the moment a mess. So if you see my little swatch here and any kind of mess there, I apologise. This weekend we're having to strip all the walls and get it all done ready for Christmas, so I won't be able to sew, or at least not properly. I'll have to try and find another room. But yes, so 2 days is what I'm giving myself to get this done, or almost complete, so that I can comfortably just kind of hem it up somewhere. So that's the plan for today. The first call of business is the mock-up, so I guess we better get started with that. I think I'm just going to do the bodice and one sleeve, and then just check how that fits, and then I will show you on camera to save you going through all of that process, because if it doesn't fit, I'm going to have to retrace all of the pattern pieces, and there's not a huge amount, but there's enough, and it's really thin tissue paper, and yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. So anyway, let me show you the pattern. So here is the pattern that we're going to be working with. It's the Fairfield button-up shirt. I'm going to be making the long sleeve, but I am going to make it so that you can roll up the sleeve, and I'm also going to be putting darts in the back for a bit of shape. So it comes in this really cool twisty little thing like that, and opens up, and then you obviously have your instructions. Just want to say, how cool is this? Thread Theory actually put their own label in the corner. Like, I've never seen that on a woman's pattern. I like it. I'm here for it. So excuse my tissue paper. I've already obviously traced all my pattern pieces, but we've got my instruction book there. And what I've decided to make is I'm making the, let me zoom in here for you, the extra large here, because it goes up to a 46 chest and a 42 waist, and then I'm obviously going to use the darts to like bring it in a bit more, and then hips is 48. Now this pattern's really good because it comes with 2 options. It comes with your standard men's figure, and it comes with the larger figure. Now I looked at potentially doing the larger figure so that I could take more stuff in, but what the larger figure is actually for on the men's shirt is if your abdomen is bigger than your chest. Well, I don't have that problem, so I'm going with the average size. But what I do have, which men don't have, is breasts. So what I'm going to do is get out the pattern pieces that I've already traced, and I'm going to make the front, the back, the yoke, and one sleeve, and test it out. I might even do the collar as well. Another thing to note is when I was looking at these instructions, It says about easing the collar in, and how sometimes you might have to cut a bigger collar in order to get it to ease in, or you have to slightly gather the neckline. Now, I looked at how they're cutting the pattern pieces, and I think that the issue they're referring to is because they're cutting them all on the grain. Now, when I made the Tilly and the Button shirt, I believe that one of the, I think it's the undercollar and the collar stand, you're meant to cut on the bias so that it helps to curve around the neckline, while keeping the top of the collar and the other side of the stand collar on the straight grain. So that is a thing that I'm going to do with this pattern. So I'm not going to follow it completely in terms of how they want me to cut the collar. And the second thing I'm going to do is these pattern pieces here. You actually have an individual pattern piece for the right side of your body and an individual pattern piece for the left side of your body. Now, men's shirts button up the opposite to women's, so basically they tell me, I think it was to face the pattern pieces down on the wrong side of the fabric to cut it out, but I want the mirror image. So what I'm going to actually do is cut it out on the right side of the fabric for the bodice part, so that my my shirt will button up on the right side for me. This shirt is really good for pattern matching because the button placket and button holes are built into the actual shirt pattern itself, so you don't have to have a separate piece and then try and match them up. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to get this pattern. So with all that being said, let's start the mock-up. So I'm out here actually learning the value of mock-ups. So this is what I've got so far. It actually sits nice and flat at the top. Obviously the shoulders are very large and they go right over my shoulder, so they need to come in quite a bit there. It's probably to about there, I think, with obviously the seam allowance, and then it fits nicely here, but it's getting a little bit tight around the waist section. The waist on this is a lot lower, so it's sitting here, and it doesn't allow for curves because a lot of men are straight up and down, or at least this is a shirt made for men that are straight up and down. So I need to undo the side seam and allow for my hips and my bottom. The back, I don't know if I can show you, is okay, but again, because the waist seam is sitting lower, I am getting a bit of bunching at the bottom. But once I find my natural waistline and then find it on the pattern, then curve it from there and make those adjustments, it should fit fine. So what I'm going to do now is undo the side seam and work out how much fabric I need to add to the side and make the pattern flare out. I am also going to work out how much of the sleeve head I need to take off and move that in and make those adjustments on the pattern. But I think that will be it. I don't need to make a full bust adjustment. I just need to give my booty a bit more room in the back, and allow it to go in to my waist and then flare out at my hips. So I'm going to do that now, and then I will show you what it looks like. So I've opened up the side seam, let me show you here, and that measures 2.8 inches, but what I'm thinking of doing is going to about 3 inches, maybe 4, just to give me that extra movement and a bit of flair. I'll probably stick with 3 inches and just do 1.5 to each, so that add to the back and add to the front. One of the things I'm also going to do is move the dart placement. So because my natural waist is gone up the pattern, what I need to do is move the center of the dart up so that I don't have this bunching in the middle, and potentially make the dart shorter as well. So I'm going to do that. I'm also still umming and ahhing about these sleeves. So when I'm sitting back like here, I obviously have this excess fabric, which if I do a smaller sleeve, I'm not sure if that will take that out. One would assume it would, but I'm not sure. I've never done a sleeve adjustment before. So what I think I'm going to do is make the alterations, add the flare, move the dart, and then I'm either going to cut into this one side. Actually, yes, I will do that. I'm going to reduce this one side, and then do the same with the sleeve head, and then just insert this and see what it looks like. And then on the other side, I think I'm going to leave it as is and then see what I prefer. But I think if I leave it as is, I'm going to have this, this gaping here, which needs to be pinched out. So, but the thing is, I don't want this to be skin tight. I want it to be like form-fitting, but I want it to still be like baggy and something that I can put a vest underneath and stuff and look a bit oversized. So I do worry that if I make the shoulders smaller, it's not going to look oversized, but then at the same time I don't want it to look ridiculous and me have bulgy bits out here. So I'm going to go away and play with that. I'm going to add the adjustments to my pattern. I'm going to move the dart. I'm going to unpick the current dart in this and then resew it with the new dart placement. And then I'm probably going to attach the sleeves and see which one I prefer. So I'll show you that once I've done that. I think my 2 days to do this was absolutely ridiculous because it is now 1 o'clock and I am still messing around with the mock-up. So this is not going to get done in 2 days, but you know, once I get this mock-up perfect, you never know, it might come together really quickly. So I'm going to go away and do that now, and I'll see you in a bit. I have changed my mind. So I've decided that I'm not going to alter the sleeves at all. I think that part of the boyfriend aesthetic for this jacket is that the sleeves actually hang lower and off the shoulder. So I'm not going to touch those at all. I have done the side seam alteration, but what I did add was 5 inches, because I thought, well, when I sit down, is it going to still be tight if I have it done up? So I'll show you what I've done. Let me just turn you around. So what I have done, and I didn't record this because I have no idea what I'm doing, is I just did 2.5 inches to the bottom, and I measured this distance here to move the notch there, and then I've graded it up to my actual waist and then just kind of blended it in at the top. And I've done that for both this is the back and both the front pieces. So I decided to do the extra, 1 for when I sit down and 2 because I'll have room to play with, rather than having to do this whole process again and then make another mock-up. So now it's on to mock-up number 2. And yeah, and then we'll see how it fits. Mock-up number 2 is done. I've got the added, if I can show you, extra width at the end, and I'm quite happy with that. The waist still sits too low, but I don't know if I'm going to do anything about that really, because when I wear it open it's not going to matter, and you can't really tell too much. I just have a little bit of gathering at the back that I can probably take out with the darts. So I'm gonna faff around with that when I've actually cut out the other fabric. But yeah, I'm quite happy with how it fits. It's still nice and loose, but then does kind of skim over the body, which is what I wanted. So I'm just gonna jump straight in now and start cutting out the fabric. I'm going to spare you the whole cutting montage because you've seen it thousands of times before. And once I've cut that out, I will start construction. So I now have all my pattern pieces cut out and interfaced. I have run into two issues. One, I did not have enough fabric to cut the parts of the collar that I wanted to on the bias, so I've had to cut them a straight cut, and I am struggling to mark the fabric, so I've actually opted for thread marking instead. I also have this placket contraption here that I need to thread mark, and I need to work out what lines I've got to mark for that. But the first order of business is going to be to stay stitch all the necklines, and then we're going to start constructing the bodice with the dart and the yoke. Back is done on the jacket, and I've top stitched it in there. I've also gone ahead and worked on the sleeves to get these plackets in here, and I did not film this because I needed to concentrate, so I've got my sleeve plackets in there. I now need to put on the little strip that's gonna hold the sleeve up when it's all rolled up, and then it's working out how to attach the sleeves to the bodice, because these attach with the felling seam. So that's what we're going to do next. We're just going to attach the tab at the top here, and then we're going to set these sleeves in. Time to attach the sleeve tab to the sleeve. So this is the wrong side of the sleeve, and this is my tab. I'm going to stitch across here, then I'm going to fold it down and secure it with a stitch that goes across like that. So we're going to do that now, and then it's time to set the sleeve. Sleeve tabs are now in place, and although it looks relatively neat there, when I turn it round and you look at the good side of the fabric, it is really not neat at all. So what I'm thinking about doing is getting some labels to cover that over. I'm not quite sure what label or whatnot yet, but maybe like the thread theory labeled one side and then, I don't know, a different one the other. But I definitely want to cover that up. I've tried to correct it a few times, but it just looks horrendous. But anyway, that's for a later date. The top of the sleeve has to then be turned over by 1/4 of an inch, so I've been going around and doing that, and then I need to press this down. I also need to do this for the other sleeve as well, and then there's some fandangle method of attaching this. I'm still a little bit confused how this is going to go together yet, but we will see. And yeah, I'm gonna iron this down, do this for the second sleeve, and then we'll have a look. The sleeves are all now set in. So now it's time to do the same thing but for the side seams and the under sleeve, but this time with right sides together. So we're going to do that. I'm quite happy with how it's coming out. Unfortunately, I did not have enough of the fabric to be really picky about my sleeve matching, so this sleeve looks different to this sleeve, but I'm not too worried about it. I did want ideally this for both sleeves, however I just didn't have enough fabric, so it is what it is, but I'm still loving it. My top stitching is not the best. I found it quite difficult to get this to be straight, but again, it's not something that anyone's really going to notice other than me. See, oh god, look at that, that's a bit wriggly. So anyway, this is where we're at now. Looks a little bit like a cape at the moment. I'm going to get the side seams stitched in and felled down the same way, and then we can start working on the cuffs. The seams are now in. This is actually quite a tricky part, especially when you get to the underarm, but it is doable. You've just got to take your time. It's not the neatest of felling, and oh my gosh, look, the pattern matching is way off there. But it's doable, it's fine. It just takes some time. So both of these are in now, and now I have to start prepping the sleeve for the cuffs. Then it's the collar, buttonholes, button placket, jobs are good in. So let's move on to the cuffs. The first cuff is in. It was too tricky to film, so I didn't, but this is what it looks like. I annoyingly did not have enough fabric to pattern match, so it doesn't match whatsoever, but it doesn't bother me. So that's the first one in. I need to rinse and repeat for the second one and then move on to this collar situation. I have my upper collar and under collar that we need to sew together up around the top, but leave the bottom free. So to make sure that I remember which side's the upper collar, I have put a pin in the upper collar, so that's marking that for me. One of the things I did note on the pattern is the under collar is actually slightly smaller than the upper collar, which helps create that curve that I was worried about. So I've never tried this method before, but the pattern seems to suggest that it should curve naturally around, because there'll be more room in the upper collar than the under collar. So I'm going to give that a go. So what I'm going to do is stitch these together, give them an iron, and then we start working on attaching the under collar. I am now pinning down the under collar stand and going to top stitch that down. I am then going to do the final embellishments, the hemming, the buttonholes, and I can call this project done. But rather than take you all through this process, let's jump to the reveal and then I will talk to you at the end. It is done. I am really happy with this shirt, and my partner will be really happy because it means I won't be stealing his shirts all the time. But yeah, it came out really well. I like the fact that the sleeves are now like a dropped sleeve there. The collar that I was worried about actually worked out perfectly, so I've now learned something new about doing collars, which I'm quite happy about. One thing I did do by mistake, and it's not noticeable unless you know, but I obviously know, is I sewed the placket the wrong way around on one of the sleeves. So I mean, I couldn't tell for ages, so I'm not like bothered about it, not that I'm gonna go back and unpick it or anything like that. But yeah, I was a bit gutted because I was really trying to pay attention to what I was doing, and I obviously can't tell the difference between the right side and the wrong side of this fabric, so I sewed it on the wrong way around. But anyway, I do absolutely love this shirt. This was, I believe, a medium weight fabric, and when you come to felling the seams and coming over where the seams join, it gets quite bulky, so you do need a machine that can handle tough fabric or thick fabric, and I wouldn't go any heavier than a medium weight, I think, in this pattern, especially with all the felled seams and everything. It just makes it quite bulky in places, especially like underneath the armpit there where you join it together. I can't feel anything obviously when I'm wearing the shirt, but when you're trying to sew over the armpit piece in particular, it gets quite bulky, so you're going to need a strong machine and a strong needle. But I absolutely love this. I especially love the fact that the button placket is built in, which helps with the pattern matching. Sorry, I'm filming this while I'm down with a raging cold and I currently have a temperature, so if I sound off, that's why. It's been many weeks since I actually finished this garment to be able to be just about well enough to film this, so I apologise for my husky voice. But anyway, yeah, I'm definitely going to make some again. Like I said in the video, I did add some hip width for me personally. The next one I make, I think I'm going to make shorter. The sleeves are nice and long and baggy, so when they are done up, you do them up. They've got a nice bit of bag, so if it's cold I can tuck my hands into there, which is one of the things that I love about oversized shirts. But yeah, I absolutely love this. My partner wants one now, so I've got to make him one up. But yeah, I'm really glad I did this, and I find it super snug and cozy, and especially as the weather in England is now becoming really quite cold. I'm going to be wearing this quite a lot, I feel. But that's it from me for this video. Don't forget to like, thumbs up, subscribe and all that jazz if you like my content or this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.